Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. And welcome to the Central Florida Computer Society, the Windows Special Interest Group, the WinSig, for Sunday, July 11th, 2021. I'm Hewie Poplock. Welcome. This is the Windows Special Interest Group. I've got several things to go over, and we'll have some discussions in between and while we're going on. The usual way in which I do this is let me go ahead and share my screen. And we'll go to hewie.net. When I edit it, I want to go to it. And I come up here to the WinSig. And there's all the items that I've got on the schedule for today. And you can do the same thing. You can go there. By the way, this is a TPM chip, is what the picture is there. We're going to be talking about that in just a few minutes. So these are the items that I put down. And looking back at last month, these were the items that I had on schedule for the month. And then below that is where you can play the video of the meeting. So starting probably tonight or tomorrow, if you scroll down just below today's list, the recording of this meeting will be there as well. So you don't have to go to YouTube. It connects to YouTube and plays it from YouTube. Okay, today I want to start a little bit, start off with a little bit of discussion on Windows 11. There's so much going on about it, and you know, it's not out. A lot of you aren't using it yet. A lot of you can't use it. I can't, except on my main machine, and I'm not about to make my main computer a test machine for an incomplete operating system or one, and when it goes into full beta, what is a beta machine. So I've been trying to go through and my computers and trying to find, I even went on Facebook's marketplace to see if I could find a cheap computer with the proviso that I wouldn't buy it, a used one, unless it could run the test and showed that it would run the Windows 11. I only need it for a couple of months just to play with the Windows 11. After that, once it's released, I'll put it on this machine and I won't have a problem with it. But I have been unsuccessful. I had one that's a little bit, probably will run it, but it's more money than I wanted to spend even for a used computer or for a new one, and it was a used one. And then a couple others, one said no, it wouldn't, and the other one said they didn't know how to do it. So let's see, what did I just do? Am I still sharing? Am I sharing? I guess
no,
I'm
you
not.
dropped out.
Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen again, or what I thought was being shared. There we go. Make sure I'm recording too. Yep. So I don't have a machine to test it on. I do know that Bob G has done a really good video on how he was able to get his DELL, which said he didn't have TPM, and I'm going to be talking about what that is in just a moment. But he was able to, and I'm going to talk about it. TPM can also be, besides being a chip and hardware, it also is in some of the computers, in some computers on the BIOS and turned off, but it's software instead of hardware. And so let's talk a little bit about the Windows 11. Let's take a look instead of me just spending some time here. And then let me go ahead and open the print friendly version of it. And so Windows 11 is here, sort of. Microsoft released an insider preview of Windows 11 to anyone daring enough to try a beta OS. Naturally, this person installed it immediately, and I've already found features Microsoft never even mentioned and omissions that I really wanted to try. Let's see. So as we move down, there's not a command bar at the top. I can't point to anything because what it does, it makes it gray, and I can delete the picture. But you can see at the top, it's not the ribbon, it's a command bar. So that's going to take some getting used to. And of course, everybody's going to want to, oh, well, let's make Windows 11 look like Windows 10. So everybody's in a hurry to go to Windows 11. And then they're going to say, well, I want to make it look like Windows 10. So but no one's happy with what they get or what's out there for whatever reason. So let's see. So File Explorer didn't change much yet. The ribbon is gone again. In its place, you'll find a command bar. At first, I still had the ribbon. Microsoft's known issues list states it's working on an issue that makes the command bar disappear, but he never had it. So it looks like this. Oh, and the right mouse button properties are different, and especially when you're looking at pictures or graphics, you can do some editing, rotate them and copy and compress it to a zip file and so on from the right mouse click. Microsoft also introduced a new context menu. That's that menu you get when you right click. They revamped the settings, but the control panel won't die. So there are some different settings. And again, I don't have to spend a lot of time with this because the link to this article is on the website, and you can go back if it's something that you want to take a look at. We're just getting in a discussion about it, not spending a lot of time on each of these things. The centered taskbar, some people like it, some don't. Why don't they like it? Because it's different. And so there's Microsoft has made it so you can put it back over on the left side if you want it. But again, that's making it look like Windows 10. Why go to Windows 11? So who knows what people think. Let's see what else here. There's a new start menu and it looks different. We talked about that a little bit on one of the presentations I did on the Windows 11. And I do have a video on that, by the way, on my channel. Let's see the all apps button to get to those. So there's some different things here. And widgets. There are widgets, but mostly broken. And one of the widgets they have is the weather widget that the newly introduced news and weather app in Windows 10 into a widget panel in Windows 11. Actually, it's kind of a window, a widget in Windows 10. And I don't know if you've got it or not. Let's see, I've got it over here. When I click it, it opens up here and gives me the weather and some headlines and some news, but it shows me the weather here. So that's what it's going to look like, except it's going to be on the left-hand side in Windows 11. And there's going to be a revamped Microsoft Store, but so far there are no Android apps as promised, but there will be somewhere by the time it's released. The new computers will come out with Windows 11 probably around the holidays, and it probably won't come to your computer until probably just after the first of the year. This guy's got a computer screen that I would love to have. Isn't that neat? He's got two smaller travel monitors. Those aren't full monitors down on the bottom, but it's a 47-inch curved monitor. I think it's great. Or a 43-inch ultra wide. Does he say who it's made by? No, he doesn't. But apparently Windows 11 is going to handle multi-screens better, and it will remember when you start up where things were. Although I really don't have a lot of trouble with that on mine. So let's go ahead and let's see, I'm going to close out of this and let's stop the share and see if there's any comments from anybody about what I just mentioned.
I don't know. I think it's going to be difficult for a whole lot of people to even think about going there. And luckily we've got Windows 10 till at least 2025 now. So, but it's like anything else, Hewie, it's about people don't like change.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing is the only machines that are going to really be able to handle Windows 11 are very current machines.
Exactly.
You mean that you're probably not going to want to update anyway, exactly. At least in the beginning. And those of you who have older machines, if you want to go to Windows 11, you're going to have to buy a new computer. That's what it just boils down to.
At our resource center at the Hilton Head Island Computer Club, we've got, well, we had 8, we now have 6 old Dell all-in-ones. They're 7 years old, 8 years old. They will not run Windows 11. So we now have to consider getting new machines, that kind of thing. So that's, it's,
The new Dell that I bought last week from Newegg, it's a $500 machine, notebook, ultralight, only 4 gigabytes of RAM,
Ouch.
and 128 gigabytes of an SSD. And I ran the health check. I don't know if you were planning on covering that today, Hewie, but the health check came up good. And then there's actually a section that Windows 10 was it 20H2 or 22H2, whatever, or H1 rather, the spring update, put some new security things in the settings, and it picks up the TPM module and even has the ability to see what the TPM module is or isn't doing. So that was an interesting change even before Windows 11, but it tells me I could put it on there.
I bought
Go
a
ahead, Jeff.
I bought a new computer today, actually, from Lenovo, laptops for my daughter, and it's got the version 11 Intel chip in it and so forth, but so did some of the others I looked at were 10. Some of the ads actually did say this is with a free upgrade to Windows 11. So a lot of the new stuff is already being advertised as compatible. I also looked at my own desktop, which is a Dell Dimension, and so maybe 2 years old, and that looks like it will be okay to upgrade. The biggest problem there is they have a date for the chips. It's a date where anything older than, let's say, 2.5 years or something will not be eligible. Very strange, and they're still fussing with that. Matter of fact, the latest news is that they're updating that to try to increase the number that will be eligible. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, the Dell that I have that I was hoping would be compatible. I didn't realize I bought it as a refurb, and it's and I think I bought it in 2014. So I got a feeling there's not a prayer in the world that's going to make that one compatible. So and my Surface 3 definitely is out. It just doesn't have the space. I think it's a 64 gigabyte chip in there for storage, and it just not enough room for it. Plus the CPU in it is not recent enough. Okay, let's go back unless there's something else. Let's go back, sharing my screen. And this one was Psyched for Android apps on Windows 11. Here's how you can already use some now. Let's go to that article because I do have a comment about it. Whoops, I hit the wrong button here. Sorry about that. Let me turn that off and click this. And make it bigger. Okay, you can already run Android apps on Windows 10 before Windows 11 arrives, and it tells you how. Well, yeah, it tells you how you might be able to, but you have to have the PC. Let's see, what's it called? Your phone installed on your PC, and you have to have the correct model of a Samsung phone for it to work. And that's the only way you can make it work. My Samsung phone is a little bit too old. And so even though I have the Your Phone on it, let's see if I've got it here. I've got the Your Phone. Right here, and I can get my notifications and emails and messages and photos and everything on it. But it's supposed to have a little button over on the side that says apps, and it's not there because it won't work with my model. So it's very limited, but if you have the right Samsung Galaxy phone, you might be, and you're using the Your Phone app, you might be able to make it work with Windows 10. The next item on the list is Windows 11 requires the TPM2 modules. So scalpers are driving the price up. Nothing in this article except this right here. See if I can make, by the way, that's again another picture of the TPM chip, but it went from $24.90 as the price of what that chip is to $100 in 12 hours. So the scalpers are really taking advantage of the fact that you have to have that chip. However, when I say that, that chip has to go on the motherboard. And so it's only going to work with a desktop computer, number one. And I would say that of the 53 people who are online right now, plus any of you who are watching this as a recorded video, most of you don't have the capability of going in and adding a chip like this if your motherboard is wired to accept it. So you've got the criteria of number one, that your motherboard has to be able to accept the chip. And number two, you got to know what you're doing. And actually, I don't have, as much as I know about computers, I'm not one to get in there and tinker with my motherboard. At one time I did a little bit, but that was back when I was in the computer business back in the 90s. I wouldn't attempt it today. And my NUC, I don't think would have a motherboard capable of doing it anyway, although there's already one there. But for most of us, we're going to end up buying a new computer, I'm afraid, to make this work. Okay, so let's go to the next article. So because that's going to tell you what is TPM. Let's see, this is why does it need it first? Yeah, let's do that. And it says, what is TPM? What is a TPM? TPM stands for a Trusted Platform Module. It's a technology that provides security-related functions at the hardware level. It generates and stores encryption keys and performs functions in a tamper-resistant manner. It provides an additional protection against malware and other types of attacks. So it's all security-related. And so that's why it's become a major thing for Microsoft, because they're saying this is going to be a much more secure operating system than previous ones. In a blog post, Microsoft explains that the Windows 11 systems will all have a hardware root of trust. The TPM is a tamper-resistant element at the core of the computer that can be used for security features like disk encryption and secure biometric sign-ins with Windows Hello. TPM attestation can be used to remotely authenticate hardware and software. The TPM has a unique endorsement key, or an EK, burned into the hardware. Organizations can remotely check and verify that a device that it says it is, and that the hardware and software haven't been tampered with. For example, this might be particularly useful for a company managing a fleet of work laptops. The TPM includes hardware random number generator that the system can depend upon too. Modern smartphones have security chips that perform specialized functions, so why shouldn't computers? And so basically it goes on and talks about it. And then why isn't TPM 1.2 good enough? Microsoft's messaging was all over the place in the days after the Windows 11 announcement. Initially, Windows 11 compatibility page said that some systems with TPM 1.2 would be able to upgrade. Later, Microsoft edited that page and said TPM 2.0 would be required. A Microsoft webpage dating to 2018 points out a variety of security advantages that TPM 2.0 has over TPM 1.2, including support for more modern cryptographic algorithms. Since TPM 2.0 has these advantages and has been common for several years now, Microsoft clearly feels that it makes sense to require TPM 2.0. Now, in Bob G's video, where he's got an older DELL that doesn't have a TPM chip in it, he has something that's called, I believe it's TTS TPM or PPT, or it's not PPT, but there's another set of letters. It's the software version of that. And some motherboards for a short period of time had that built in on them. And his Dell has that on the motherboard. Mine does not. But you can go into the BIOS setting when your system boots up and it says hit F12 or hit escape or hit F1 to go into the BIOS. You go in there and look. You can go in and see if you have that feature, and it may be turned off. But be careful when you do that, because it can screw other things up, especially if you hit something wrong in there. So don't go playing in the BIOS if you don't know what you're doing. Because it could be disabled if it has it. And one more here that I do want to cover, and then we'll leave this topic. What is TPM? How do I find it and turn it on? And this article explains that. There's a video. I can't play other people's videos because of, let's see, come on. There we go. Because of copyright, I'm not sure what I can, what I can't, so I just don't. What's a TPM and why isn't mine working? Let's see. This is a good article. It kind of explains it. TPMs are in most newer cheap CPUs. And this is what it looks like. And let's see, do they show where it is? No, I guess not. What is a TPM header? Let's see, and these are what some of the chips look like. And how to check your TPM status. The best way to do it is go to your, let's see if I can find it. Let's see if it's in this article. Let's see what it does say here. While TPM support on a 7-year-old PC to run Windows 11 is going to cause hand wringing for the next 6 months, even newer PCs can have trouble. But there is a way to check to see if you have it and it's turned on. And let's see if this article is one. You go to the, let's see, I can find it here maybe. You can't see this, but let me see if I can find it. Just give me a second. There it is right here. If you go to, let's go ahead, and I'm not going to stop share. I'm going to bring up, and then down here in the type search, I'm going to put, let's see, how do I do this to get to the command? Is that how would I type in? Command prompt, there we go. Just type in the command prompt and then type in this, which is tpm.msc, and then hit enter. And you'll get this screen. And it'll say here, let's make this a little bit bigger here. And you'll see that on this computer, I do have a TPM 2.0. So that's a quick way to see if your computer has it. Just go to the command prompt, type in tpm.msc. And if someone would type that into the chat box, I would appreciate it. Just tpm.msc. And that's at the command prompt. And let's go back and exit, I think it is. Yeah, and I'll close this. We'll close this. And I think, oh, and there's 2 videos listed here. Windows 11 and TPM explained. It's a short video. It's about 30 seconds, which is really good. And then Bob G's getting my Dell Inspiron 7786 ready for Windows 11, how he was able to do the software, turn on the software TPM on his machine and explain how he did it and showed it. So that's a good video to look for. So let's go ahead and take.
Hewie, you don't have to go to the command prompt to enter that tpm.msc. You can just do it right on your Windows screen.
Yeah, I kind of figured that right in the search box, right?
Right.
Okay. I'm not sharing my screen, so let's, but thank you for that. I kind of thought that, but best way to do it is command prompt, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. Any other comments about TPM or any of that, what I just talked about?
Yeah,
John?
it's interesting because I'm looking at the trusted platform module. It says overview, and then it says status TPM is ready for use. You may clear the TPM to remove ownership and reset. So this is definitely, and apparently, and I have 2.0 version, and apparently the AMD chips are TPM capable.
Okay,
Or
now
the
the other
recent
things, you
ones.
still have to run the tests for the
Oh, I know,
other
for
things.
for Windows 11, yes, but
Yeah.
at least we know that this is working, so I have that option might be available to me. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Stephanie? Unmute.
I have a Dell which works. I already tested it. It's okay, but I have a tablet, and I'm wondering, can you do anything with the BIOS of a tablet?
I would doubt it. I don't know. I've never gone into the tablet BIOS, but it's probably all going to be software. You're going to have to. I don't think you can. I don't know. Anybody know? Silence tells us tells it all, I guess.
It depends. Are you talking an Android tablet or a Windows tablet?
I think so. It's running Windows 10 at the moment.
Then you probably can, but I would have no idea how to get there. You'd have to do a lot of research online for that, I think.
Yeah, I do have a Surface tablet, as I said, an older one, and I did run the tests for Windows 11, and it failed it miserably, including the TPM was not on there.
Well, this one has all the things there except TPM, in terms of just looking for the things that were listed as required.
Dick?
If you turn on TPM, if you have not had it on previously, does it affect any of the operation of your computer, including sign-on?
I don't have a clue. I have read some articles saying just be careful when you do that, or when you go in and start changing things, especially if it's in the BIOS. You back up first, but I would do that anyway. Make sure you got a good backup before you go in and do any kind of those kind of changes. Especially if you aren't sure what you're doing.
I turned on TPM and it didn't affect Windows 10 on my computer, so I guess it's all right. Then I went
Good.
and turned on secure boot, and in Windows 10 wouldn't boot. This is a brand new computer I just bought, so I turned it back off. At least
Yeah, I think the TPM takes over for secure boot, and I don't think you can have the two of them together. I think I was reading something about that in one of the articles. It's above my pay grade, and I don't quite understand a lot of that. But I did see something that if you look at some of the articles about turning on and off the software version of TPM, I think the secure boot has to be turned off for it to work.
At least that's my experience.
Peter?
Not sure this will help, but I have two PCs here that I built within the past year or so. They both have AMD Threadripper CPUs. And I know both of them support TPM. I just ran tpm.msc and it said that neither machine has it. And that's because I have it turned off in the BIOS. So this test is not going to show you that you have it unless you have it and it's also turned on.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's correct. I agree with that statement. Yes. That was my understanding. Any other comments? Okay, let me go. Yes, Shalin?
Sorry, I couldn't get unmuted. Is there a link to the Windows 11 check?
There might be on last week's. I'll have to go back. and
Okay,
look.
I'll go look. I'll go look. That you don't
Okay.
have to do that. Okay, but as long as you think
Okay.
you may have, it's posted somewhere in your stuff, then I'll find it.
Yeah, it may not be though, because
Okay. But there is a link out there somewhere.
Yeah, because it might have been the Tech for Seniors that I talked about.
Okay, well, I'll look at that too.
Okay, Stan, did you have something to say or?
Yes, I do. I put into the chat that I tested the big Asus laptop, a gaming laptop that you left that we've been using for the TechSig, and it came up with a not able to run Windows 11 because it did not have a, I think it said lockable boot system. So that's not the that is not the TPM, I don't believe. And you just mentioned you have to turn that off to make the TP. I don't know. I just haven't had a chance to get into that. And I just ran the tpm.msc in a DOS prompt, and I'm not in the administrator logon, so I can't do that at the moment. So I'll have to follow up with it later.
Okay. And Sally Ann said on her Lenovo laptop, she found TPM 2.0 listed in the device manager under security devices. Okay. All right, let's go back and continue on with my list. And the next item is how to use FaceTime for Windows. I thought this was an interesting thing that was coming, and that is Apple opened up FaceTime in iOS 15, iPad OS 15, and Mac OS 12 to be able to video call other people on other platforms, including Android. That means you can finally use FaceTime on Windows, kinda. And we'll show you how it works in this article. Unfortunately, Apple didn't release a FaceTime app for Windows. Instead, anyone with an iPhone or an iPad or a Mac can create invite links that work with Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge on Windows. This means it's not possible to start a FaceTime call from Windows, but you can join one. So somebody can call you with FaceTime. FaceTime is a video-to-video one-on-one conversation. I think maybe you can have more than one, but it's a way of conversing with other people let's see, what's the term? The old video phones that people used to talk about back before we had the smartphones and so on that we have today. But in the days of Dick Tracy, you would have a video phone, and that's what it basically is. Now, one thing you've got to realize that with the iOS 15, it's not even out yet. So you can't, I took out my iPhone, which is an iPhone 8, and it has the latest version, which is 14 point something. And I said, well, wait a minute. It said Mac OS 12 and I've got 14. Oh, it's not Mac OS, it's iOS 15 iOS. And that's version 15. And then when I checked, it's not even coming out until fall. That will be available. So you can't even test this at this point unless you happen to have the beta version of the operating systems. But it's going to be interesting to see if people will actually do it. But what you're going to do is you're going to open up FaceTime on your Apple device and then tell it to create a link and then kind of call somebody on a Windows machine or an Android's machine, and they'll be able to join the FaceTime conversation. They aren't going to be able to call you if you have an iPhone and they or an iPad or a Mac. Somebody with Windows or Android is not going to be able to call an Apple person. Only the Apple person can call them. So that's the truth behind the how to use FaceTime for Windows that Apple was talking about. The next item, Google Drive for desktop app is getting its promised backup and sync features. I looked at this. I haven't played with it enough really to talk about it. Google's Drive for desktop app is getting its promised backup and sync features. So It's an interesting article. Again, I've not played with it, but it's been a few months since Google declared the upcoming death of its backup and sync client for Drive. And then they're going to move and come up with a new one. So it's a new version of Google Drive for desktop. The Workspace app developed concurrently with backup and sync. I tried to run it, I believe, earlier today, and it wanted to install some things, and I wasn't about to try to do that today. And I'm not quite sure. I've not read enough on how it works. Has anyone played with it at all? Let me go ahead and stop the share. Has anyone played with the new Google backup?
No, I haven't, but I read a little bit about it, but I also saw in that article, it says something about only for the enterprise edition. So you have
I
to
believe,
have,
I believe that's to start.
okay,
Yeah,
so eventually they
now that I
may,
recall it. Yeah, eventually it's going to be all versions.
okay, so we don't have to worry about, at least I don't have to worry about it until
Yeah.
then.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Yeah, let's go back.
Yeah, just to, if I
Go
could,
ahead, Steve.
Hewie, on the previous topic, FaceTime, I guess it's the same thing as WhatsApp, which I have used just once, but it works beautifully on my cell phone. I mean, if you want to be able to, see people you're talking to, I don't know how many you can have. I've only used it with just one other person, but it works fine. So it must be
Yeah,
similar.
I know Robin's doctor uses WhatsApp for her telehealth.
Yeah.
She can use either FaceTime or WhatsApp.
Right. So there's alternatives to
Yes.
FaceTime. So it
But-
was very
but
easy to use.
But true iPhone and iPad users will not use anything but FaceTime.
Right.
Okay, and let's see. Microsoft warns users to update your PC immediately. This was out this week. So let's go ahead and open that. And let me go ahead and go to this. It says a serious vulnerability in Microsoft's Windows operating system has caused the software giant to advise people to install and update promptly. CNN Business reported that there's a potential for serious damage from hackers that could exploit the vulnerability and install programs, view and delete data, or create a new user account with full rights. Known as Print Nightmare, the vulnerability affects the Windows print spooler. Updates are available for Windows 7 users, despite Microsoft's previously saying it would no longer offer patches for that version. Security updates for Windows Server 2016, Windows 10, version 1607, and Server 2012 were delayed, but they're expected soon. But anything newer than that, you should be able to update. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Let's go to the next article about this. And this is from Microsoft. This is their KB, which is knowledge base from July 6th from Microsoft. And it's KB 5004945. And then there's some different builds. But it's important. This release includes the Flash removal package. Taking this update will remove Adobe Flash. Oh, that was a different one. Let's go back down to this one. It says this updates a remote code execution exploit in the Windows print spooler known as Print Nightmare, is documented in this particular article. Now, I said, I haven't checked my updates, and so I don't think it got installed on mine. So what I did was I came over here and I went to my settings and I went to security and update. And this is what you can do as well. And I not check for updates because I had done that yesterday and I was up to date, or last night. So I was up to date when I checked it. So what I did is I said, well, let me see my update history. And when I did that, right here is on the 7th. Let's see, does it give the date? No, that's just
Next line.
no, here it is. It's this one. Yeah, let's see, 500. Yeah. It says cumulative update for Windows 10 version KB 5004945. So that was it. And it was installed on the 7th. Today's the 11th, and 4 days ago. It had already been installed when I checked. So you might want to check and see if it's been installed on your machine. If it hasn't, you need to get that update, and it should show up in your updates, and make sure it gets installed. Apparently it's serious enough for the several news sources to put it out there to warn you about it, and that they put out an update even to go back to Windows 7 machines to make sure it gets installed. This Wednesday is an important date, or I'm sorry, the 15th. It's Thursday, I believe, isn't it?
Thursday, yes.
Yeah, Thursday the 15th, Microsoft is going to have a big announcement, and it could be their cloud PC. At least some of the pundits are saying that. Go ahead and make this bigger. This article was written 4 days ago, and I've listened to some podcasts where they've talked about this. No one really knows. Microsoft isn't talking about this yet either. But for a little while now, we've seen hints, rumors, and leaks about a brand new Windows 10 cloud computer service offered by Microsoft itself. As it turned out, the tech giant may soon divulge its plans during its Inspire conference, which is this week. And there's evidence to back that theory up. ZDNet spotted the potential announcement after taking a look at Inspire's schedule. It noted there's an event happening on July 15th called What's Next in End User Computing. The event promises to teach visitors about the newest Microsoft Cloud solution for enabling hybrid work. This description sounds suspiciously close to Microsoft's rumored cloud PC service. And there's also a mysterious Microsoft Cloud PC website appears online. Want more proof? If you dive a little deeper, you'll see that Scott Manchester is hosting the event. And Manchester is the lead developer in a lot of Microsoft's cloud-based services, which it is promising in itself. However, ZDNet, which is where this article came from, has one more trick up its sleeve. One of its sources claims that Manchester has been working away on Microsoft's cloud PC service this whole time. If this is true, it leads a huge amount of credence to the theory that Microsoft will lift the dust sheet off its cloud PC service during its Inspire event. Unfortunately, Microsoft declined to comment on the theory, presumably so it can keep the main event as a surprise. As such, there's no way for us to know if this event truly will be about what it's going to be about until it happens. So what is the cloud service? If this is the first time you've heard about it, and we did talk about it on a Windows SIG a few months ago, we had a whole discussion about it. The rumors of a new cloud PC service in Microsoft have been bubbling away since late 2020. Unfortunately, Microsoft has been good at keeping things under wraps, as we only know the bare minimum about the service. What we do know is that the service will allow you to rent out a Windows-based machine that you can connect to over the internet. This means that as long as you have an internet connection, you can access your PC on the cloud from anywhere on the device, on any device. And what I've been reading, that includes even an Apple machine. A leak from late 2020 hinted that the cloud PC service will have a business focus. It will allow professionals and companies alike to quickly hire out a Windows machine if their work demands it. The leak also revealed 3 different tiers of computer: medium, heavy, and advanced. These tiers will offer different hardware specifications to fit your needs. However, we don't know a great deal about the hardware specs for each tier, and any information we did learn has largely changed since 2020. So we don't know, number one, is it going to be available to you and I as an end user? And then how much is it going to cost? Is it going to be even reasonable for somebody like us to even play with? It may, there were some numbers being posted around about $200, $400, but that wasn't mentioned whether it was monthly or yearly. If it's yearly, probably not. For a light user, might not be a bad deal. That means you could run Windows on any machine, on any piece of equipment. And then the advanced is going to be able to do video editing. And then, in other words, it's going to be a much more advanced system. You're going to have a little bit better computer, and it's probably going to cost a lot more to use that. But we'll see on Thursday what they announce and what's coming. So it's Microsoft's got something else on their sleeve, up their sleeve as well. And there's also some gaming things that are going to the cloud that if some of you, and I'm not into gaming at all, but if some of you are using a one box, they're going to be doing some things in the cloud with it as well. On that note, I'll see if there's any questions or comments. Steve Hall? You're muted.
Sorry, forgot to lower my hand. I'm fine.
Oh, okay, that was from before. Okay. Anybody else have any comments, questions?
Yeah, Huey, I just, don't we already have that kind of access like with the Google? I mean, I can currently get onto my Windows account from anywhere on any device. I can currently get onto my Google account from anywhere on any device and log in and have everything right there. So what is the advantage of this PC cloud service?
It will be the operating system. You're
Will
not
it be out there?
Yes. So you're going to be able to take your Chromebook and actually run Windows, not run the Windows programs, but you're going to be able to run Windows just as if it was on your desktop and you had a Windows machine in front of you.
Okay, virtual machine kind of thinking, or am I off?
I believe will be like that, but it's going to be in the cloud instead of, it's not
On
going to
the
be loaded
machine
on
itself,
your computer.
yeah.
It's going to be operating from the cloud.
Interesting.
Francis, do you know anything about that at all? Have you checked into that? I know you keep up on a lot of these things. Francis Chow. You're still muted.
Yeah, it looks like they're just going to transfer some of their existing Azure stuff down to the regular user. Because right now you can already rent computers at their Azure website.
Right.
So there's not much, they're just going to move it to more of a common person's and the pricing down there. Because I know people that are renting servers and Windows computers already up in Azure. And
Right.
they've been doing it for about almost 10 years. So they just make it more common for the rest of us and probably
Okay.
lowering the price.
Hopefully.
That's all I can think of.
It's going to be interesting. Just as we're trying to get caught up and we're learning about Windows 10 and how to do all these things, now they're going to throw Windows 11 at us. They're going to throw Cloud PC at us. And oh gosh, you know what? That's job security. Of course, I don't get paid for this job, but it's still job security. We're going to be able to talk about this stuff for a long time in the future. So, yeah, Pete.
Perhaps I am misunderstanding that whole subject, but it seems to me what they're coming out with is a way to take a fast computer and make it be a slow computer. I'm sure that's not their intent, but if I'm understanding it correctly, and maybe I'm not, it's basically saying that the operating system will reside in the cloud, and the only thing that'll be on your computer is hardware, which means that the operating system will now get delivered to you over the internet. So my very fast computer now becomes a slow computer. And I don't know that there are a lot of people who are going to be happy with that.
Yeah, where they're aiming for, of course, is business people who don't normally have a PC to travel with. And when they get to where they're going, whatever they have for a device, they're going to be able to get online and work with. And it should be secure because it's all going to be handled out on the cloud as far as security goes. So long as their internet connection is secure, they'll be able to do their work. I guess
I'd be
we're
interested in
going.
knowing what applications are provided with this PC that's in the cloud. I mean, PC by itself is worthless without applications.
Yeah, you're correct, Mike, and I'm not sure. Again, we'll have to see if it does, if it's going to exist, and they announce it this week, we'll know a little bit more about it. Or they'll at least let us know a little bit, and it may not affect any of us. This may be something just for big corporations to use, but it's the beginning of PCs in the cloud, running the operating system in the cloud. So I guess we're going back to the old dumb terminals and connecting and having everything done remotely.
Yeah, it sounds like the old IBM systems I used to
Yep.
work on many years ago that were basically dumb terminals connected in. Now they're just going to connect them in via the internet, and hopefully you have a 5G connection. Or
Yeah, and speaking of that, not that I want to show off anything, but let's let me share my screen here a moment. And I don't know if any of you do this or not, but if I go to speedtest.net, which is a speed test, this is how you can check to see what your internet connection is. And you just click on the go. Let's see what happens.
I'm sorry, what was that about not wanting to show off?
It's actually running slow.
That's absolutely sick.
Oh, wait a minute. It's not done yet.
It does download speed and then upload.
What are you paying for this connection?
It will be $102 a month.
That's not
Hewie,
bad.
I saw one that you put on, you posted the result on Facebook yesterday or the day before. That was a lot faster than this.
Yeah, it was another 100. It was 900 and something both ways.
Holy
You know, I
cow.
I
did.
usually get on Comcast about 945.
And notice the ping is only 2.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Is this fixed base 5G or the satellite?
Neither. It's fiber optics.
Ah,
That's not, well, don't forget, I'm also running a Zoom meeting at the same time.
mhm.
Yeah, so yesterday when I wasn't running anything and I did the test, it ran about 920 and 960 up and down. So they're down and up. No, but it's still they just put
Yeah, I'm
that
only
in.
hitting a little over 200.
Yeah.
But then I don't
And-
pay as much as you pay. so
What I
that's part
have
of it.
found, which surprised me, let me stop sharing. What I have found is I'm direct wired on this computer.
Okay,
When I do the Wi-Fi, I'm not getting, let's see, on one machine, when I went to Wi-Fi on this machine, I was able to get 400 or 500 up and basically up 400 down, something close to 500 down, and up was around 600. But the Wi-Fi on all my other devices is about 100 up and down. And I think that has to do with my router.
yeah,
I probably need to get a router that's capable, because they just left the same router in, and they said they don't, the service guy that installed the other equipment, they just left the router. They changed the modem and changed the fiber optic conversion. That's
give that a
in
try,
the house.
definitely.
So I think if I get a much better router, will get a better speed on my other devices.
yeah, I think you're
Hewie,
good.
I'm dealing with this same issue now, and the router is definitely a major part of the problem. Most of them have only 1 gigabit Ethernet ports. And if you're using a separate switch, most of them support just 1 gigabit Ethernet. So I just got a router and a switch that supports 10 gigabit Ethernet, and that alone made a huge change.
Yeah. So that's my next
Yeah.
device.
The new routers that
for-
are coming in with the Wi-Fi 6 standard. And then your devices have got to support Wi-Fi 6, but that will speed up your Wi-Fi significantly.
Yeah, AC or AX is a lot faster than the routers a few years ago.
But you also have to be able to receive that in whatever device you're receiving it in too, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to upgrade your devices.
So an older device is still not going to
Yeah, we
be
just
able to
go,
pick up those,
just go
but
out
it
and
should
get
be, it
new
still should
tablets.
be faster.
new tablets, new phones, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta, I mean, maybe this is just me, but I have across 2 different houses, 7 PCs, and they're all connected Ethernet. To me, Wi-Fi is something you use only when there's no other option. And I mean literally no other option. But if all it takes is drilling holes in the walls and running cables, do it. It is so dramatically faster than Wi-Fi. The only thing that I have on Wi-Fi is my phone, and the only reason that's not Ethernet is it doesn't support that.
Yeah, I think that
Even my
I
laptop,
think that Ethernet is duplex. You're receiving and transmitting. You're not the packets are not colliding and so forth. I think
Right.
you're half duplex on Wi-Fi, which means that it's one at a time. You receive one, you transmit one. You're automatically having your speed.
I just
Yeah,
looked on my new.
I gotta say it, if you're running anything on Wi-Fi, stop.
Well, you
Ethernet,
can't,
do it.
yeah, but if you're using a notebook, you're not gonna drag a cord with you all around the house.
All of my laptops are connected Ethernet, and that's because they really don't move around the house.
Yeah, so
I mean, even though they're highly portable devices,
Yeah.
they're pretty much in the same place all the time.
But
Obviously, when I take it on the road, then that's a different story.
Well, I have a television set that uses Wi-Fi and the apps run just fine on that, actually. I can watch YouTube, very good picture, no issues whatsoever with it. So, you know, obviously that's just one way. It's not two way, but it works well for me.
And it's, if you're happy with what it is, you don't have to improve it, but you could get improvement. I'm thinking about getting a USB-C to Ethernet and then connect my Chromebook to it to see what kind of results I get for the $15 or $20 it will cost for that conversion. I think I've got a docking station that I used on my Surface around here. I think it's got an Ethernet connection too. I need to try it. All this has been in the last couple of days, so I haven't tested everything. But it's interesting because as we get faster speeds, we're going to have to understand these things and decide what we want. Some people it doesn't matter. You know, if you're just doing Facebook and a few other things and you're happy with the speed, you don't have to go to that. But if you're doing some things, if you're watching some videos and things on your computer, and if you're doing video editing like I'm doing a lot of, and I know Jolyn does a lot of editing on hers, Mike, I'm not sure if he does, but I know Ron Brown does. We need, the more speed we can get, the better. And the more devices that we can get that speed on. Now, if a lot of us though, and just think about yourselves, your computer is probably almost next to your router, and yet you're using Wi-Fi. And it would be just as easy to have a cable going from your computer to your router and get that added speed.
And once you get to Wi-Fi 6, also known as 802.11 something X and some AX and AXE, it's the same, almost, it's only 10% slower than Ethernet. So it's just a matter of how fast a router you have, and you don't get fast routers for free or as bundled in from the broadband suppliers. They give you junk. So here in my house, everything, all my cameras and all the security I have here runs on Wi-Fi, and it's only 10% slower than Ethernet.
Have you actually measured that speed, or are you just the 802.11ax? The theoretical limit based on the specs is about 10% lower than gigabit Ethernet. but the real world speed is quite a bit lower than that.
Well, when
And
you
it all
buy,
comes down to what your preference is. I mean, for me, you know, the words, my internet connection is fast enough, are words that, other than a few seconds ago, I will never say. No matter how fast it is, it's not fast enough. And the words, my computer is fast enough, I'm not even sure, you know, that's like crazy words to me.
We,
But
we,
that's me.
yeah, we've evolved. You know, in IBM, I worked there for 33 years. There was a time we said that if you could get a 1 second response back from the CPU, that was good. And then, of course, over time, it's evolved where now if you don't get instantaneous response, it's too slow. Now, the other thing is with the USB C port on there, even with the version 3 and 3.1 and so forth, you're only going to get a maximum, I believe, of 10 megabits per second. So that's not going to give you the kind of, with the adapter there to Ethernet, I don't think that'll work out for you.
I'm getting, on my Chromebook, I'm getting 100 Wi-Fi, 100 up and 100 down megabits per second.
So through a USB connection?
No, this is Wi-Fi.
Right, but you were talking about using USB
Yeah.
type.
Oh,
C.
it really would be that slow? Okay.
I believe so.
I don't know.
Because the original 2.0 spec on the USB was 5 megabits per second, and they doubled it with a 3.0 spec.
That's
for when
interesting.
you do routers and you're doing 802.11ax and AXE, I'm probably the only person in the entire city that's doing AXE up in the 6 gigahertz band. And you add in routers that do this multiple in and out. They look like spiders because they got all these antennas, and you add in all these other features, it brings it within the true 10% slower than Ethernet. It depends on how much you spend. I don't have a router that costs me less than $300, and most of the ones in my house now are in the $500 range. And so when you get up to there, the technology does match the theory, but you have to be willing to spend. I spent most of my life installing routers for a company called Cisco, and so you can get up to the speeds if you're willing to pay for it.
That's true. I'd recommend a utility I use. It's called LAN Speed Test, LAN for local area network speed test, and a companion program called LST Server. I think to get the full version, it's like $5 or $6, certainly worth it. And you, if you have a network at home or wherever, you can measure the actual throughput speed from one device to another. So I can measure, you know, the speed through a switch or through a router from any device to any of the others. And, you know, for me, for $5 or $6, get it and see what you're actually getting.
Is there a
When
link-
I switched,
Is there a link for that you could put in the chat?
Yeah, I was just going to ask Pete if you can do that.
I'll look for it. Let you know.
That's the great thing about these meetings, and I appreciate all the feedback all of you are given, because we all learn. I just learned a whole bunch that I didn't know, and we've got people on here that have expertise in different areas, and we share, and that's the great thing about user groups. Over the years, Jolyn is shaking her head yes, and I know there's several other that have been friends of mine through user groups for long periods of time. I know Stan and Mike and I go back into the 1980s when we first were involved with user groups. And Francis has got knowledge that most of us will never have. And he's got so much to share, and we appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Let's, unless there's something else, let me go back and we'll go to my list again. Anything else? That was a good discussion. Thank you. A lot of good comments, a lot of good information. So let's see, we got enough of this. Let's see, I got to close this to move this over. And Oh, Microsoft Editor, and I don't think I'm going to have a lot of time to talk about Microsoft Editor. I don't know if you're even familiar with Microsoft Editor, so let's learn something about it first of all. Microsoft Editor is obviously from Microsoft. It brings out your best writing anywhere you write. You can download it for Chrome. It sees that I'm on a Chrome browser, so it knows that. But you can get intelligent writing assistance. You're going to have help anywhere as you write, get suggestions in different languages, and you can see what you can do using some different things on this particular page. Let's take a look at the next article that I have, and that is a dummy file for testing. Before I get into using Microsoft Editor, I said I had a dummy file that I had found for something in the last month, and I said, you know, this is a good place to go. A lot of times when those of us, and there's a lot of us on here right now that demonstrate and help other people and want to show them things, we don't want to use real documents that have some important information in it. But let's take a look at dummy files for testing. How do you find some? Well, I had a file and I didn't remember where I got it from. So I had to go do some searching this morning, and I came back to this website, which is file example. And let me go ahead and put this in the, there's a link to it in the list there, but let me go ahead and change this to everyone, and I'll put it in the chat box. It's fileexamples.com. Well, let's take a look. Browse files. You can get sample file downloads and so on. So let's take a look at some documents. So we're going to browse. I can go to Microsoft Word, PPTX, PDF files, and they have documents that are different sizes and different. So you got doc and docx. So let's open up a docx, and it's got a lot of, it's a sample document, but it's got a lot of, you'll see here as we open up Word, it's got the lorem ipsum, which is just nonsense words. They aren't real words, but it gives you, you know, graphics and charts and so on in the document. So it gives you something to work with. But let's say you want to have a real document. Well, what do you do then? Well, let's go back to, let's see, was it here that I found it? I got to remember what I, file examples. And let's see, where did I find that? Maybe it was in the other, maybe it was in the next item here. Let's go to it. Example file. What I did is I found this website, and again, let me go ahead and I'll give you this link. We'll see, put it in there. But this happens to be online convert. It's a conversion website for free, where you can convert an MP4 to an MP3, a JPEG to a PDF to Word, and other formats. But what you can do is you can find any file format that you want. And at this point, let's go to a document. And you can find which document. So we're going to look at a docx, which is a Word document. And it tells you some information about it. And you got some here. But what you've got here is download an example file or a multiple page file. So let's do the example file, because this is the one I actually used. And I'll open it in Word. And bingo, it's got some text in it. So what I did is I went in and I changed some things and made them so the editor can check it and find mistakes. So all you had to do is enable editing, and then this is an editable document. And so you've got something to play with that you don't care about sharing it with other people as a demonstration article. So I just found that that was a good website to share with you. And again, just go to example file and it will take you to that website, and then you can move down like I showed you. But let's take a look at the Microsoft Editor. It checks for grammar and it checks for spelling. It's going to want to load a video, and I don't want to play that. But let's take a look at this, make it bigger. The Microsoft Editor checks grammar and more in documents, mail, and the web. The Microsoft Editor is an AI-powered service that helps bring out your best writer in more than 20 languages, whether you're writing a Word doc, composing an email message, or posting on a website like LinkedIn or Facebook. Editor underlines the issues it finds, select the underlined word or phrase to accept or ignore the suggestion. So it gives you a suggestion. Editor is available as a browser extension for Edge and Chrome and is being added to Word and Outlook apps. The free service lets you nail the basics of grammar and spelling. Additionally, with a Microsoft 365 subscription, Editor offers advanced grammar and style refinements like clarity, conciseness, formality, vocabulary suggestions, and more. It's a browser extension. And again, if you've got the Microsoft 365 account, it connects with that and gives you a little bit more information. Before we do that, let me ask you, and I'm going to stop sharing and just kind of look at your faces. How many of you know that Microsoft Office is totally free? And I see
Is that right?
Microsoft Office is totally free. Tony, you've got a comment or question about that?
No, I'm just responding to your question.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Yes, it's totally free. So let's take a look. I'm going to have to go into a browser that I'm signing into with a fictitious name doesn't have a Windows or a Microsoft 365 account. Otherwise, you see something different. So let's do that. Let me go ahead and share my screen again.
So this is the cloud version of Office, I take it, right?
Yes, the cloud version of Office. Let me go ahead and close this. See what else. Okay, and we can close. I'm going to minimize that in case I need it later. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Edge browser that I'm not signed into as me. Yes, I am. Let's see. How did I do this before? So I don't.
Would it work in an incognito screen?
I don't know. I think
Okay.
you sort of say incognito mode. For some reason or other, there's certain sounds when they're activated on my computer, it cuts out my Zoom audio and I don't hear everything.
I did mention the incognito mode if you can't get logged out and sign back in the standard view.
But okay, so let me it's Outlook. Just go to outlook.com. You can go to office.com as well. Whoops, that's not where I want to go. All right, let's see. It's in private browsing in Edge. Okay, and I want to go to office.com. Okay, I did that wrong. That's why I did that. Office.com and sign in. I'm going to sign in with Carl's name. I'm going to want the password. I got to remember it. Oh, good. That's not the right password. I may have mistyped it. Oh, I did. Oh, I got it right here. Okay, this is Microsoft Office. And this person's account is an unpaid account. Yet I have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneDrive, Teams, OneNote, To Do, Family Safety, Calendar, and Skype, all available for free. So you don't have to have a Chromebook. You don't have to have something other than a Windows machine. You can just go to office.com and sign in with your Microsoft account. You have to have a Microsoft account. But even if you aren't an Office owner or Office 365, you don't have an Office account for Word and so on, or what they call not Office 365, but Microsoft 365. So if I open up Office or Windows, if I open up Word, I get a new blank document or whatever I want, or our example with errors. I had logged into it earlier, so it knows it's there. And here is the article on a free version of Word, the same as what we had. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the editor. You'll notice it up here in the menu. When I click on that, it goes out using AI or artificial intelligence, and it's telling me the editor score is 80%, and they want some suggestions, some advanced information, but it's got 5 spelling errors and a grammar error, and maybe it's conciseness. So let's do the conciseness first. When I click on it, does it show me what they are? No, I guess in the free version, let's see, vocabulary. I'm not sure, but I know in the spelling when I do that, it does go. So it shows me here, and right away it shows me what gives me some choices, or I can ignore all, or I can double click it if it's correct, or I can click and add something else. But if I say, okay, now I want placeholder, bingo, it's there. Now I went to the next one, whoops. And I see, okay, it needs a space between the A and the C. So I can change that. I'm not going to, because I'm not sure if it's going to affect the next thing. So it goes down, and here's Canada, and it needs to be capitalized. So that's, it's down to 4 things. So let's see what the next one is. Oh, it's down here. It's got a double quote instead of a single quote for a person's, it should be a single quote mark there, or an asterisk, or an apostrophe. So now the conciseness, it doesn't, the free version, and doesn't handle the vocabulary. So let's go back to my Word document. But what I wanted to show you is here's Word free, and the editor is there as well. Now under dictate, you'll see here, the dictate wants to use the microphone, and I can allow it, but I only have the one choice there, and it said no. I only have the one thing there, but and then transcribe. Even in the free version, can I transcribe? Transcription helps you provide and play back your conversations and interviews, generate a transcript from a recorded when going to premium. So you have to have the premium version to do the transcribe. I've described that and talked about that before, but when I get into my into my paid version of Word that I'm going to do next, we'll take a look at that. So let's see. We're going to close this. Let's see.
Hewie, do you have to,
Yes.
Can you save this document to your hard drive?
Well, actually, if I do a
Or is
file,
it all in the cloud?
you can save it, but it actually saves it on OneDrive. It saves it in
Yeah.
the OneDrive account. But you can do a save as, and then save a copy online, but you can rename that, download a copy. So you can download it to your computer.
All right, so then how will you open it if you don't have Office installed? You have to go back on the web to open it?
You'd have to go back to the web and open it, but you would still, or if you've got the free Google Docs, Google Docs will open it. Or if you're using the
LibreOffice or OpenOffice.
yeah, LibreOffice or OpenOffice will open it. So you can create it in Word, send it to somebody, but if you wanted to open it on your PC, if you didn't want to go back out to the cloud and you didn't own Office, you can do it. And the online Office works on your Android phone.
No, that's what I was going to ask. Your tablet or your cell phone as well. That's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
And it's free.
And I think it works on Apple as well. The
Yes, it
Apple
does.
phone. and
Yep.
Apple iPad.
because it's cloud-based.
Yeah,
So let's
okay.
see. Let me go ahead and figure out where I got to close. I want to make sure I don't close my, let's see, this is it. Close this. Okay, so now let's go back to my Chrome. And this time I am going to go to my Office on my Chrome because I am a 365 owner. So if I go here and I open it, I don't know that it's going to look at the one I just fixed, that one. So that's why I didn't want to fix everything in it. So let's see if we got 4 spelling errors or 5. And we go to editor. Yeah, see, it fixed the one and saved it. Where we had, what was the word, placeholder? We had a letter missing from there, and we fixed it when we saved it. Now, when I opened it up on my PC in my paid version, it knows I fixed it already. But the same spelling errors are there, but it's also showing some grammar areas. Let's take a look at errors. Let me take a look at those. Right here, Smith, R, John. Okay, so that should be is instead of R, so I change that, and it's going to change it. And down here, the name R, and that should be a name is. So it's changed the 2 grammar errors. And then conciseness, let's see what that means. Well, let's see here, it says how to avoid possible confusion. Well, you really should just say confusion, make it concise. So we do that, it's now going to say confusion in there to avoid confusion. And let's see if there's anything else down here. Vocabulary, let's see what it wants to do here. A similar manner. You might want an analogous manner, a comparable manner, or an equivalent manner instead of similar. It just sounds a little bit better vocabulary. So that's all built in. The other thing that you can do is you can dictate and transcribe. What you do here, you can upload an audio file. And why would you do that? I record board meetings of one of the clubs I belong to, and in Zoom. And when you record in Zoom, you get an audio file, the video file with audio, and the text box or the chat box. So you take the audio file and upload it. If it's fairly long, it takes a while because it's doing it all in the cloud, but it then creates a file with each of the speakers. And then you can then say, okay, go ahead and put it in the Word document, and it will take the whole transcription and make it a Word document, which you can then give to the secretary. The secretary, if she or he missed some of the meeting or some of the things that were said in the meeting, you've got an actual recording of it as a Word document. And they can cut and paste what they want, or they can just retype it. So that's the editor. And it also works if you're on Facebook. And I'm not going to go into Facebook right now because there's too many things in there that may not need to be shared with other people's addresses and names and so on. I don't like doing that cold. But if I went to Facebook and started typing in a reply to something or something to my timeline, the editor automatically works because I've got it installed as a driver in my as an extension in my Chrome browser, as well as in my Edge browser. And so it works in there. And so it will pick up any misspellings, any grammar. It'll give you some suggestions for a better word to use and so on. And with that, let's stop the share.
Seems like it wouldn't be that much more difficult to allow you to upload an MP3 file and have it do the same thing.
Oh, it does.
I was just going to say my experience so far. Client had a cassette of her father's. She did an interview over the telephone with her father 10 years ago. It was on a cassette. I have a cassette digital converter. I was able to bring that, and it happened that her mother's recording was on the other side. Both her parents are deceased. He was very involved in getting the St. Jude's Children's Hospital going and cancer research. So she wanted to be able to, she's trying to write a book with somebody and get that information. I was able to take the cassette digitize the recording and used the Microsoft transcription tool to have it printed out for her. It was so good. It really was. And of course, it was, some of the pieces were muddled because of the telephone connection, but it really, she was able to get so much out of it and was so thankful. So that transcription process is amazing. And my second comment is, and I see that you guys have mentioned Grammarly, and Grammarly was started by the son of one of our computer club members. He started Grammarly and worked with the dictionary project. And I love Grammarly, and it works everywhere. So it is comparable to this in many, many ways. It's comparable to the editor in many, many ways. But I use Grammarly, and it picks up no matter where I am on my phone or a tablet or on my computer. So they're both very good products.
Yeah, good tools to have.
Yes.
And to use. Any other comments?
Just thinking of another use for it, especially with Jolen's comments, as I have a couple of diaries handwritten from ancestors that are 80 to 100 years old. And I have been looking at, and they're cursive. So I've been looking at programs that scan cursive and, convert it into text and so on. But many of them, they're more trouble than they're worth because of, maybe light writing, heavy writing, smears, whatever. And it'd be a lot of editing to do it. But now I'm thinking, hey, if I can read it and say it, I'll just take the diary, start reading it, let it transcribe, and I can start and stop it in case there's some problems with it. And then get it maybe a lot easier than it would be if I was just going to try to scan the cursive.
Mike, that sounds like a great idea.
Absolutely.
It really does. And I might steal it from you because I have my grandfather's, he was a pilot in the First War and taught the RAF in the Second War, and from Canada. And I have his books, his little short stories that he wrote. So I was going to try to scan them in, but they're very light but reading them might be the answer. Thank you. What a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, on that note, it's time to end the Windows Special Interest Group meeting, the WinSig meeting for July 11th, 2021. I'm Hewie Poplock. Thanks for joining us. Please stay tuned, those of you who are online. I'm going to stop the recording. I can figure out where.